Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today and joining us live this evening for our very first Autism at Home webinar. Tonight, we'll be discussing on the topic of managing challenging behaviors in children with autism. Joining us today, we have Jochebed Isaacs, our director at EAP, and also the lead instructor on Autism at Home. We also have Ms. Tiona James, a homemaker and student in leadership training. She's a mother to 4 children between ages 5 and 14, 2 girls and 2 boys. Hi, Tiona. Yeah. Just unmute yourself there, Tiona. Hi, Tiona. It's nice to see you.
Hey. Hi.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Steph. Hi. Hi, Tiona. Nice to see you again.
Joe. Hey, guys. Hey, Joe. Hey, Steph.
So thank you again so much, everyone, for joining us today. So as I was saying just now, just giving a little bit of a background about Tiona as well as her family. So Tiona has 4 children. Her eldest child, Abriana, is 14 years old, and her second child is Aaron, who is 12 years old. So both children are actually on the autism spectrum. The family have been on this autism journey of theirs since 2010. And Tiona's kindly agreed to join us today so we can discuss some of the challenging behaviors that she's been experiencing with her daughter Abriana at home, and just having questions about how best she can support her daughter. So prior to this, we did ask Tiona to send in some questions that she had about Abriana, and they really range from quite a variety of topics like self-stimulatory behaviors or stimming, behavior management like aggression, diet, as well as tolerating and adapting to changes. So Tiona will be trying our best to go through these questions today and hopefully really be able to provide you really helpful, practical strategies that you can apply at home with your kids.
Great.
So maybe as a start, Tiona, to kind of hear from you, could you tell us a little bit more about Abriana, like when she was diagnosed, what are some of the strengths and challenges that she has?
Yeah, great. Hi. When she was diagnosed when she was about 6. That's pretty late, actually. We were just young parents, and she was our first child, so we had actually no clue, and we did not like check on milestones when she was a baby. We should have checked on milestones, but we didn't, and bypassed all that. We went straight into when she was in kindergarten, and the teachers in the kindergarten were the ones actually who brought it to light. Yeah, so that was the first time that it was actually brought to our attention. Hey, there's something's not very normal about your child, and you need to do something about that. Yeah, that was the first diagnosis. The teacher parent meeting. And then after that, we went to a clinical person. This is doctor. He's a doctor. He's a pediatrician, and he advised us. He even confirmed it that yes, she is on the special needs spectrum, and yeah, he advised us to just give her that positive input. So with Abriana, she's actually high functioning. She's closer to normal, but the thing is, it has been very challenging with her now. Specifically now, because she's 14 and she has hit puberty. And I actually have no idea how to deal with puberty, and there's so many questions that I have, but the main thing is how do I help her manage her emotions, especially the pre time to hitting that cycle in the month, and after that, and her aggression that comes up before that. Her aggression meaning that she bites, she pulls hair when she's frustrated and she can't talk. Her bad behavior meaning in public, she doesn't really care who it is, and if she's in pain, if it's period cramps, she just pulls at whoever is nearby. I suppose it's a attention-seeking behavior to get help. But I miss it sometimes, most of the time. I have 4 children. That's not an excuse, having 4 children, but still, yeah. What else? Yeah, challenging behaviors. Yeah, the aggression is the main one. The steaming throughout the day. Someone actually once told me, hey, once an autism child starts to talk, they never stop. They're like a TV box. And in her early days, it was never like that. In fact, she was a very calm child till it came closer to these teenage years. Her need to want to keep away from social events led a rise. I don't know, maybe led a rise to her steaming. And it wasn't even, what came out of her was not the stuff that she would see on off today when she's 13, 14. What came out of her in this steaming was videos of Elmo and stuff that she watched when she was like 7, 8, 9. You know, it's like as if that thing had been trapped in her head and it is just coming out now. You know, it just be constant. It could be like a whole day, to the point that after like a week of steaming nonstop, 24/7, her throat would get scratchy. And I would have to tell her, hey, Brianna, you're hurting your throat. You need to go lower your voice, or you need to completely stop. Yeah. Of course, I wasn't good at saying it in a nice, polite way. Yeah, being a mom, I took the typical, Abraham, could you please? Yeah, you know, that kind of a tone. Yeah. Back to you, Steph.
Thank you so much for that, Tiona, on that kind of like, so what you're talking about there is, you know, she's entered this kind of stage of her life, you know, in that pre-puberty, puberty stage, and that seems to be linked to some of the aggression behaviors that she's been having, as well as some of the stimming that she's also experiencing at home. So this was one of the, you know, the big topics that they really wanted to get in depth and talk about today. So maybe we'll touch on the stimming first, Joe, maybe to kind of hear from your end, any questions you have for Tiona, or any thoughts you have on some of the things that she raised just now?
Yeah, thanks so much, Steph. And thank you, Tiona, for coming on this live, you know, consultation webinar. I think when we spoke about it, we wanted to be able to support your family, but then you being willing to do this live and publicly, really, we hope will help a lot of other families as well. So thank you so much for being willing to share this whole process, I suppose, with other families too. I think really, like, we respect and honor you so much for being able to have 4 children and 2 on the spectrum. It's really not easy, but you're looking great. You're still standing and you're doing a great job. You and your husband, Sam, I think doing the best that you can. So I think, you know, a lot of the different things that we have on the Autism at Home platform, they are strategies that we hope will be able to help, but we do acknowledge that it will need to kind of be customized, definitely, and individualized to each child. So I know earlier during our kind of briefing, you know, earlier we were talking also about Aaron, and which is your second child, who's 12 years old. But for this part, I think we will just focus on Brianna first, right? For now, we'll just chat a bit more about that. Yeah. So I think a few questions, I think, in order to help with some suggestions and all that. I think definitely we want to talk about behaviors first. So the self-stimulatory, preparing a bit of the puberty aspects. But there were a few questions that I wanted to just ask a bit more. Is like, what does Brianna's sort of like weekly or daily routine look like? Like just, you know, Monday to Sunday, just maybe like a brief kind of overview. What does she typically do? Just so that we have an idea of what her day looks like.
Right. So, okay, so her mornings are standard. She gets up, she gets herself ready, she goes and has her bath, she does all her brushing teeth and gets herself ready. Yeah, all that's independent. I don't have to do anything. She
Wonderful.
she gets her own coffee. She knows how to do her own coffee.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a simple coffee. Click the button, put in the sachet thingy. So yeah, so she does that herself perfectly.
Great.
She sits at the table. She has her own breakfast. The breakfast is already laid out, so she takes whatever she wants. That's fine. After that, she has a short Bible time where she kind of sits and reads her Bible, and then after that, she does her cutting and her coloring by her own. So it's like a free play time.
Yeah.
So that is from about 10:30 till about 11:30, about 1 hour, where she gets to just kind of do whatever she wants to do first. And then I go in to do whatever exercise routine, like just a simple exercise routine and a worksheet. So it's not a set worksheet. It could be anything, just to get her to engage with her and to get eye contact, to spend some time. So sometimes I even just go in to just say, hi, how are you? What's your name? What's your father's name? What's your mom's name? And she just loves that interaction, even if it's just, you know, and sometimes I don't even have that time every time. So the consistency is where it gets affected a lot. So on a good day, I get this done very properly, it goes on time. On a bad day, I have to go to the market. She follows me to the market. We come back and then I have to cook. She stays in the room. This staying in the room thing happens when I am busy and I don't do the consistent catching up with her,
Yeah. So when she, sorry, can I just interrupt? So
Sure.
what you just described, the morning routine, the independent activities, the mom time, till about, let's say, till about lunchtime, does that happen more like Monday to Friday, or is that like, is that the usual routine?
That's Monday to Friday because the others
generally
are all, others are
so
all
Saturday,
out
Sunday, you're going out lah.
That's right.
Oh, the
Saturday
others, as in the other children, all your other kids. Yeah, sure.
I have that,
Oh, right. Okay. So this is pretty much Monday to Friday, and then basically lunchtime, is it?
Yeah.
Sounds like someone wants to join us.
Sorry.
Guest appearance.
No, that's totally fine. Guest appearance. That's right, Steph.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
Yeah. So, what about lunchtime and what happens after that?
Okay. So So lunchtime. So lunchtime. She used to want to be. Oh, not want to be. She was able to sit with us during lunch.
Okay.
With the kids and everything. That has slowly changed to wanting to just, Ma, can I? She will hold her ears at the side like this. She'll go like, Ma, can I go to my room? Can I go to my room? Ma, can I go to my room? Like that. And I'll be like, Ebrina, so she wears these funky glasses and she has this comb in her hand where she twirls, right?
Yeah.
The twirling of the comb keeps her peace.
Okay.
So I'm like, Ebrina, at the table, remember, hands nice at the table. We don't wear the glasses. And then she'll try to do that, and then she'll still ask, Ma, can I go to my room? Ma, can I go to my room? And she's using her words so nicely to ask. So I'm like, it's a bad. I don't want to.
How do you choose? Yes. What do you choose? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be like, okay, you know what? Give way. Win some, lose some. Okay, fine. Yeah, go to your room. But the thing is, Joe, I don't know whether this inconsistency of letting her go some days, letting her at the table some days, is that messing her up? Because
I get what you mean. Yeah.
I always look back to those times when she could sit with us. When right now the intolerance towards the sound of So
yeah, I think what I'd love to know a bit more about what else she does, but I think definitely, like, if we just talk about that part specifically, definitely what happens is the more a child practices anything, whether it's let's say we say a behavior that we want to increase or a behavior that we don't want to increase, right? So we won't say good or bad behaviors, we just say preferred or unpreferred behaviors. So your preferred behavior is you wanted to engage, interact, socially be present.
Correct.
But what's happening is she's starting to spend more and more time on her own, in her own room. And part of that could be becoming, it sounds like a typical teenager on one hand. All teenagers seem to want to be in their room, all the time. But at the same time, of course, because she has autism as well, you're worried that she would not mingle anymore and sort of go backwards in that sense socially, right? Correct. Yeah, so there's a few different aspects with that. So I think we can come back to that of what do you choose and what do you do? Because I just asked you a few more things, and then we'll look at some macro sort of big picture suggestions, and then you let me know if that sort of makes sense or not. So then what happens? So then all the other three children, they basically come back after lunch, and then what happens then?
Okay, so like at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, everybody's like, oh, Ebrina, and everybody's like back in the house and making a lot of noise. And then I'm like, guys, go say hi to your sister, or, all that noise. Suddenly that silence in the home becomes all noisy, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has lunch, and then everybody goes into resting time. Okay, so everybody goes there, everybody goes to their resting time, and she
Yeah.
loves resting time because it's like, don't touch me, I gotta be in my room, and I'm approved to be in my room, you know.
Yeah.
So resting time is her favorite time.
Yeah.
And then dad comes in the afternoons to try and do something for her, because once his job is over, then he gets to spend like an hour with her. So he has like a module that he follows, like some basic worksheets as well. So there's upper time with Abrana in the afternoons for about 45 minutes to 1 hour. Okay, so then I'm with the other three.
Okay.
Yeah. Then
That's great.
Then we have playground times. Okay. In this afternoon, there are some afternoons where Sam cannot because he has his job, right?
Yeah.
So let's say he has a Zoom call to attend to. So I look to the help with Alyssa or Ephraim, right? I looked at the help for Alyssa because she has this piano playing thing that she does, and Ebrina likes to sing.
Okay.
So they do that. Yeah. So she plays the piano and she sings. Ephraim goes in to play Snap whenever he wants to.
Great.
Or he shares a video time with her.
Yeah.
But like again, that is on a consistent good day.
Yeah. Okay.
Which doesn't
great.
happen. Doesn't happen consistently. Why doesn't it happen consistently? Because with 3-4 children, it's there are days where they are sick, there are days where they are tired, there are days where the sleep goes a little bit longer in the afternoon, from 1 hour becomes 2 hours. And then at about 5 to 5:30, we try to make it to the playground. So playground time is really important because it's the only real time that I get to say, look, Abriana, I don't care how you're feeling in the room, you're gonna get your butt out, you know. So last time I used to kind of just pull her out of the room at about 4:35 and say, we're gonna go now. And she would have such a behavior of like, she would just attack everyone, and she would scream, and she'd be like, no, playground, and she would do this big drama outside in the road, which actually once even brought in 2 police cars because the neighbors reported on us. Because there was the big scuffle outside, right? And they saw me trying to I guess contain her from hurting
right.
Yeah, because she's trying to attack the siblings when she's unprepared for what's coming next, I think. So she goes to attack the siblings, and that happened all outside of the car. So somebody who was walking by, I don't know who, reported the whole incident, and 2 police cars came, and they were asking if everything's okay, blah, 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 and we had to explain the whole thing. And then after about 10 minutes, another police car came. So 2 times. So that really broke me lah.
Okay.
That incident really, really broke me, because I was like, in my mind, I have 3 other children that need protecting. Because my one other child who has autism, Aaron, seems to be her target. She has bitten on him at different parts of his body to the point that the flesh has come out and blood has come out. And in my mind, I'm just trying to save my other child. I don't know how to bring Abriana to a place of peace where I don't want to look like this monster that's constantly trying to control her, when I'm just really trying to give her a life, but I just don't know how.
Sure.
So anyway, coming back to the 5 o'clock. So on a good day, I tell her like half an hour earlier, look, Ma, in 10 minutes, we're going to go to the playground. You're going to play on your swing, and then we're going to walk around and exercise. Okay, Ebrina? Okay, Amma. I get that.
Great.
And that day, it turns out okay.
When you have that predictability, is it?
But she still tries to attack him in the car.
Right.
Is it because this association of I'm in the car means I've got to go whacking Aaron? I don't know. But that has become lesser recently. So then playground, and then we come back, and then she has to be the first one into the house and first one into the bathroom. For a while, that was an issue also of who gets to the bathroom first, and if she's not in the bathroom first, another behavior comes because of that. So we even try to get her to plan in the car itself. Okay, who's gonna go to the bathroom first? So Alyssa will say like, hey brother, can I go at Monday first today? And I'll be like, okay. And all this time she's got her hand stuck in her ear. Okay, Alyssa. So this behavior of holding the ear is constant.
Okay.
Constant. In the home. But she's not like that when we go out. Like that day I took her to Mid Valley, or the other day when she visited her grandma's house, she didn't have that hand in the ear, you know. She didn't. It was like just her and her beautiful self. And so I don't know what is it that's triggering her in the home environment that's missed. Because that same hand thingy comes out when she's in a socially loud place, you know, really intense volume of sound. Being in Mid Valley with people doesn't make her do that. No.
Yeah.
Being
Okay.
in a social environment where the sound is really loud and people are all talking and laughing and screaming, that gets her. She goes for the kill if she's in that kind of environment. She cannot handle people talking, people laughing, people. She targets a person and she pulls the hair down and she goes for the kill. There was a doctor last time that told me that does she have what's that word, the medical word? Seizures.
Okay.
I don't know. Does she have seizures? I don't know. Is that what you call a seizure, where you just go berserk at one point and then after a while, if you ask her about it, she's like, oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, you know, like that. It's like as if she was just go nuts, and then after that, just.
I think on the point of seizures, it'd be better to check thoroughly with a medical doctor. We do have some children who do have seizures, and they have autism, but seizures don't usually present with aggressive behavior. That's usually our experience, but definitely check more thoroughly with a medical doctor. I think that there definitely seem to be quite a few different behaviors. There's definitely quite a few. So what we would recommend, like on Autism at Home and all, is to list down all the different behaviors and then try to work through them. But when there are such a variety and like a range of different behaviors, we want to be able to sort of like cluster them together or categorize them together and have certain strategies that are big picture strategies that hopefully can help support Abriana holistically, like from end to end, hopefully. So especially the ones which I think the primary one would be anything safety related. So the aggressive behaviors, and aggressive whether it's to somebody else like a brother or even someone else, or anything that's self-injurious to herself. We definitely want that. And especially as you said, it's already been something that was a real big problem in the community. Police get involved and all that. It becomes, and also it's very, very stressful as a family to manage. I think having 4 children is already stressful, having 2 children on the spectrum, but having even one of them have very severe behaviors is very, very draining. It's very difficult. So what we would really try to do is to, I think what happens, and I know you know this, Joanna, so I definitely don't want to like kind of, make it harder for you in any way, but I think just, I guess, us being here wanting to help break it down for you as well. Certainly what Abriana sounds like she needs is preventative strategies. She needs like a kind of, it's like having a little baby, like, a little babies just can't do certain things. You just cannot expect them to do any more than they can do at that age. So what do we as parents do? We kind of accommodate their life, like they have to have a nap at a certain time, they have to sleep at a certain time, they have to eat at a certain time, they have to burp, if not they'll have colic and then they'll be up all night. So we actually accommodate our life and our routine for a season until they grow out of that stage. So with Abriana, I would say that you're sort of in a kind of crisis situation here where she is demonstrating so many different behaviors that you want to try to stabilize it and really help her be in a very much more successful place. And so, I mean, knowing Abriana a bit, we worked with her a few years ago, and being able to see her do quite well when she's happy and really like talk a lot and enjoy life. I was like, writing lots of notes as you were talking and also preparing earlier. I think what do we see as a possibility for Abriana's life? I think in our experience at EAP, working with many, many different children, someone like Abriana, it is definitely very possible to have a very meaningful life. So,
Yes.
and that's what you as a family would want. You want a life that, you know, you can, she looks happy, she's
Yeah.
enjoying her life. And then
Yeah.
because she's happy, everybody else is happy. And
Yeah.
you're able to just do family things. You're not expecting her to, like, you know, do tremendously well academically or whatever. It sounds like you and Sam, your husband, have very realistic expectations.
Yeah.
But what you really want is to, how do we now create a life for her that
Yeah.
she will be really successful, that she will enjoy it.
That's right.
And so there's a few points that I just go straight into. I
Okay,
think the first
great.
is to actually have a routine that is successful for her.
Okay.
Like, I think just to have an overall successful schedule. So one of the
Okay.
questions I was thinking is, how happy do you feel she is on a daily basis? And I guess to answer that question also is, what are the things that do make her feel successful or feel motivated? Because one of the challenges, you know, imagine putting ourselves in her shoes. It would be quite difficult to be her. She'll always feel people don't understand her. She
Yeah.
doesn't understand what people are saying or what's happening. You know,
Yeah.
then she has a meltdown and then she feels bad. She, like, you know, it's just a repetitive cycle that's somewhat like tormenting for her as well. But if
Correct.
we as the adults know what is it that Abriana loves, and then how can we make her life actually have more of this? So again, using the analogy or illustration of a very young child or a young baby, we know what would make them very unhappy. And if you've had 4 children, nobody wants a child late at night to be awake, right? No baby. So moms are willing to do a lot to make sure they sleep through the night. Like, you know, seriously, no one wants that screaming, colicky baby through the night, crying.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we know. Okay, if we send them to this place, it will overstimulate them. There'll be an unhappy baby. And you just can't control babies once they start screaming and crying. So in the same way, you want to really have that perspective when it comes to Abriana, because she has those needs. And until that is somewhat settled, then she can be in a much more successful place. So I would say with your husband, like identifying what are things that she loves to do. So you said a few things that I was noting down. Like you said, she loves music, she loves singing, she actually loves that social interaction. So now, as you list down all of this, another thing, as you were talking, you did mention a few times, like, you know, that's on a good day. And then sometimes there are not such good days. There are days where everything changes. You need to go to the market. You need to pick up the kids. It's raining. You can't go out. She doesn't want to go out. So then a major part of this. So we talk about the schedule first. Then a major part is the communication aspect. So like one of the things I did want to ask is, how does she communicate like successfully what she wants? And also she might, like you said, like she communicated for like, I don't want to go, I want to go to the room. So those are a few times. But what we would try to do is to try to get her to practice communicating a lot more frequently. So it sounds like she probably communicates when she's pushed to the corner a bit. And then by that time, she's already escalating. So if we look at a traffic light system for her emotions, she's kind of, feeling happy and she's okay. Then she's starting to get a bit irritated and a bit annoyed. And she's probably not communicating at that point till she goes to a red place. And then she's getting really, really like angry already. And then she's communicating. And if you're not responding, she's attacking and using that as her communication. Would you say that sounds somewhat like what might be happening now?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. I was just listening to you and thinking what I can do to help her to communicate more frequently. That's what you said. You just said, I just wrote that down. So ways to help.
So one of the strategies I feel like we should definitely incorporate a lot more of is the use of visuals. And I know that's just something that I know that especially if you ever did a bit of an ABA program in the beginning, we always use a lot of visuals then. But sometimes what happens, it starts to fade off because we kind of feel, they kind of got words, maybe not really so necessary. But a few of the examples that you gave, like with some of the situations like lunchtime being a bit difficult, like what's the expectation, or sitting in the car and keeping your hands to yourself and not attacking, what's the expectation of that? And then even the schedule of going to the bathroom, who showers first, all of those, if you were able to implement, could be somewhat reduced or minimize the stress with the use of visuals. I think, I don't know why exactly, but of course, we know that all of us are better visually. All of us use visuals. Even right now, I'm talking to you, I've got my laptop with my notes on. I've got my notes here written here because I actually need it to like prompt me. You know, I need a clock to prompt me what time it is. I need a paper to prompt me what's happening. So we use calendars. We are very much visual people. And many people say on the spectrum, especially kids with autism, do better visually. They learn visually. And I think having something concrete that just shows Abriana, this is, you know, the expected behavior. And so whether that is in the form of rules, like a schedule, I think that we have a video in the Setting Up Your Home series. Is that right, Steph? I think it's on, one of the Autism at Home videos, it's all about visuals. And we talk about how it's really important. And for you, Tiana, you don't have to like do fancy visuals, like because Abriana is familiar with visuals, even if you just used just a written piece of paper. But with that, with communication, then if she has got visuals that she can use, she can go to. So let's say visuals like, I need a break, visuals like, I want this. So what are the things that she does want? So even like with, you know, like I'm kind of jumping here, but like, let's say we talk about a calendar. Imagine for someone like Abriana knowing what is coming ahead, like just because there's so much of like uncertainty, you know, and I think for us as a global people with COVID-19 this year, there is so much uncertainty. Imagine if our governments, imagine if the newspaper is not updating us daily what is happening and you have no idea where is this virus at. Imagine how panicked we would be as humans. So in the same way for her, imagine she has no real orientation of what day it is today, of, you know, when is she going to go there? So you said she loved Mid-Valley. She loves Mid-Valley, for example. She's no idea whether she can go back to Mid-Valley again, or she, you know, when are we going to go next? Or like, you get what I mean? Like, so just like having a visual, you know, I feel with some of the skills that I remember her having, and even now, I feel she could easily understand a calendar, easily understand time of the day. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we actually have a large calendar in the house that helps to navigate all 4 children on what's happening. So that's her go-to communication thing. I was just thinking, Jo, would it help to have her own specific one in her room? Because the one that we have outside is a calendar for everyone. Everyone meaning the 4 children. So what's happening to Abriana, Aaron that day? So let's say, for example, last week we had a trip to Grandma. She had a trip to Grandma's house, which she really loved. Yeah, and she looked forward to it because it was on the schedule. So she was expecting it, and so that's her communication tool. But with Abriana, I use more words than I do visuals. Are you telling me that that even with a child who's like her, because I have Aaron and Abriana, right? And I've always somehow learned that with Aaron, he's more the visual person, and Abriana's more the words person. So what I hear from you is you're telling me that I should be doing the picture thing for both of them, and not
certainly
so, not
certainly
be,
sorry,
not be honing it down only just for words for Abriana, like, but give her pictures as well. You're saying that, right?
Yes, definitely. Because when the behaviors come back to this place, which is like a bit out of control, then you have to go back to some basics. So what are basic bottom line strategies that we know works? And you know I'm going to come to reinforcement after this, because you know that's just, I know there are many people watching from all over the world, so some people will hate this whole idea of motivation and reinforcement, but I think that Abriana, if she understands, you know, that these behaviors, like, you know, I don't know whether we did a traffic light system with you before, but you know, the whole part of like, you know, this is red light, this is green light, this is yellow light. I think that if she understands, and if that has got some value, so you talk about Grandma's house, and I think what's important is we don't use it as a threat. So what would be really important, Tiana, if you're going to bring back a reinforcement system and positive system. So you see what we're doing is everything we're talking about is preventative. So you are proactively and preventatively setting it up. You are setting her up to have a good day. You are setting the reinforcement up so that she can have a good day and be reinforced for it. That behavior then becomes something that she'll go like, okay, I had a good day. I feel good. I got reinforced. I'm going to do again and again and again. You want that behavior of being green on green light, or, regulating herself. You want that to become the norm. Because it's really important to remember, whatever behavior Abriana practices, that's going to become more and more. So the more she practices being aggressive, the more opportunity she has, the more likely that will increase. Same with stimulatory behavior, any behavior that we prefer or unprefer. The more practice they have, it's just going to become the more stronger behavior, the more established. We use the word established behavior.
Okay.
So when you know already, like, so we talk about, okay, so we go back, we summarize again, okay? We talk about schedule and structure. So structure, I don't mean a rigid structure. I just mean roughly there is a routine that is clearly communicated to her. So she knows roughly what's been done, but then she also gets rewarded. So we talk about the schedule, we talk about communication, and then we talk about some form of rewards or some form of motivation. So then it has to be easy enough that she gets, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's motivating enough for Abriana to try her best to stay on green. And I know that, I'm sure that you've heard this story before, but once we had a child many years ago who is very verbal, but he had this very strong behavior of cursing at his mom and behaving very, very badly at home. And we came in like the kind of, Avengers team. We thought we're so there. We've done this for years. We got this boy. I brought my, reinforcer, whatever it is. He just looked at me. He just tore everything I brought, tore it. And I was like, then after that, I said, okay, so sorry. I used the consequence immediately. I have to take your iPad with me. He chased me around with a butter knife. He said, I'm going to kill you today. I'm going to kill you. So I was like, oh, I realized like, okay, what I had done was I was assuming too high and making the assumption that I bring in these structures, he's going to respond straight away because I brought my whatever toy or reinforcer. But the minute I simplified it and I just showed it to him again and said to him, look, we're going to try to stay on green. I think we lowered the bar down to like 1 minute at a time. And if he was on green 1 minute, I think we gave him like 1 ringgit. So for everybody watching on YouTube, I'm not encouraging bribing children or giving them money. I'm not saying that in any way. So to clarify before all the comments come, just to clarify, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that this guy was not motivated for anything. And he was already 9 years old. He was cursing at his mom, doing lots of negative, inappropriate behavior at home. I was doing whatever I could to motivate him to be willing to actually change his behavior. And shockingly, he stayed on green for 1 hour. This is the same guy the day before that, like, basically I was gonna die, like, from a butter knife, like, basically, like, and I was like, oh my. So I feel very confident that Abriana also can make this shift, but it is definitely not easy for you as a family, you and Sam, like, to actually put these into practice. But if you can, you will find that the same amount of energy you are spending when it happens, reactive, when a big meltdown happens, that takes out a lot more energy than putting these structures in place. Honestly, if you ask me at any point, preventative will always be, even though it seems like more work, because you got to plan the schedule, you got to like communicate in advance. And so, this is where thanks Steph, she's brought up a slide here for us to kind of refer to, which is really helpful. So a comprehensive behavior plan means that you look at the challenging behavior and you divide it into proactive or reactive strategies. So what we're looking at is, okay, reactive, we want to take her to the playground. Now she's having a tantrum. Now she's having aggressive. It's escalating. All I can do is like drag her out of there, try to, the reactive, you're spending so much stress and energy trying to stop that behavior. But what you want to try to do is, okay, what if we could have proactively put this in place? So what are some proactive strategies? We have teaching and preventative. The difference between the two is teaching is we teach Abriana how to communicate. We teach Abriana how to be flexible. So if she doesn't like something, or if she can't tolerate this, we actually teach it to her. teaching strategies also include teaching her coping skills. So when she's upset, how to regulate her behavior. So already I can come up with like a whole list of things that we can actually teach her. So I would say probably more importantly than the worksheets, let's say, that you're doing, which maybe she can do on her own anyway, you and Sam could actually practice these situations with her. There's plenty of like fun ways we can do it, like teach her to wait again, and then reward her, teach her to be flexible, and then reward her, teach her to, like tolerate a change, and then be flexible. So imagine if you practice that in your 1 hour with her, and then Sam practices it in his 1 hour with her, she's getting a lot of teaching opportunities to be able to learn this. Then preventative strategies would be where we talk about visuals. I mean, honestly, I think that is, I feel so, from our years of experience, we have just seen visuals work amazingly. And even in the situations where our kids react to it or throw it in the bin or tear it up, you just get a stronger visual and you put it back up, and you kind of just gently explain to them, these are the rules. And somehow it doesn't become a mom's the bad guy, my dad's the bad guy. The visual said so. So it's like a traffic light. Imagine having like a Malaysian policeman standing at the road there, people just roll him over. I mean, like, but you actually have traffic lights, and even then we don't follow. So anyway, that's a side note. For all those that are not from Malaysia, it's a very Malaysian related situation. But does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, thanks so much, because I was actually trying to think of how I could break down a skill. Like, for example, I would really like to have the family eat together. So to like what you said about that little boy that had that bad language, right? How you broke it down to like just one minute. So I was just thinking, I don't know, maybe I could do just 1 minute of her sitting at the table, and then reward that 1 minute, and then, okay, you can go to your room now. And then from that
exactly.
1 minute, and then go to like 5 minutes, and then
100%. Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head, Tiana. That's exactly what we're talking about. See, the whole concept, the whole concept is being successful. And thank you, Steph, you read my mind. This is when you know that poor Steph has heard me talk often enough.
I got your back, Joe.
She knows which visual I'm going to ask for. You are on the money. That's right. So 3 key strategies of ABA. So I know that, we're not going to go into a history or research part evidence of ABA, but really, really layman's terms, this is what we know works. And it's because there are 3 simple principles. Whatever skill you're trying to teach a child, you want to make sure you break it down. So you exactly gave the perfect example, Tiana, where you said, okay, I wanted to sit at the table for 20 minutes, have a nice dinner, or 30 minutes. Later on, you might want her to have dinner in a restaurant with you for a birthday. And then later on, you might want her to join you for a wedding dinner, right?
Yeah,
so that whole part of breaking skills down starts at home.
Yeah.
And you actually like break it down to like 1 minute at a time. That was your suggestion, or 2 minutes at a time, or 3 minutes. And then if Steph, you can just bring up the slide again. Let's not forget that we actually need to have the second part, which is pair it with reinforcement. Yeah. So when there is no reinforcement, think about anything we do in life. So this is the part, ABA gets a lot of slack for being reinforcement based. But if all of us think about our everyday behavior, everything we do is motivated by something. It's either motivated for personal development. We go to work because we're motivated, we earn a salary. We follow the rules because we don't want to get a ticket. So there's always some kind of consequential aspect to the things, the reasons we do. Some people may say, okay, I'm not externally motivated, but I might be internally motivated. I may want to read that book because I want to develop, I want to grow. So whatever it is, that reinforcement does not have to look like, hey, Brianna, do this, and then you get a chocolate. That's not what we're talking about. You're saying like, hey, first, sit at the table with your brother and sister just for 1 minute, and then you can go to your room, which is the reinforcement. You are exactly right, because that's what she wants to do the whole time. Then you want to make sure you have this third element, which is to practice it. So you want to make sure that you actually have sufficient practice. So this becomes a skill that Brianna is actually willing to do more and more. So she has it more and more successful. So what you could even do, and this is coming back to visuals, it could be an interesting little visual that you create that, there's like plates or something that each time she sits for 1 minute, you give her a plate, and then she goes off and you say, okay, you just have to earn 5 plates. And then you can have like your TV time, or, you know, whatever it is, or you could earn tokens that, you know, we can go out to the mall or something like that. So you're really trying to come back to a lot of this is like basic stuff that you may have done before. You probably, it sounds very familiar to you. You probably already know it and you're like, ah, yeah, why didn't I think about that? Or I should have done it. So definitely speaking to you, Tiana, and also any family that's listening, don't ever try your best not to stay in a place of regret. I think the past is the past. You and your husband have done a fantastic job with whatever you have in your hand to manage your 4 children. You've kept them alive, you've fed them well, you know, the others are in school, so you're doing your best. I think what you want to do is the best time to start is today. So the best time to start is now, or the best time to start is tomorrow. Just think about it again. Start as though you've never done it before. Just start again, like reset it and go, okay, how could we make Abriana be successful? How could we help her just live a happy life? And I really think having a successful schedule will be a huge part. And then having functional communication and having reinforcement. And coming back to this whole schedule part, you know, I wrote down a few things that I think, what would a girl like Abriana like be doing? A 14-year-old girl will be going to school, you know, she'll have lots of friends. So Abriana obviously doesn't have that or can't really interact at that level. But a 14-year-old girl, and like Abriana as well, she could still do things like chores. She could actually help to prepare a meal. So she could actually develop certain skills, like domestic house skills, that she could eventually become quite proud of. And with that, so you'd hear me using the word setting our kids up to be successful. The other thing we want to use, another word, is dignity. So then she has a sense of dignity. She has a sense of purpose, a sense of like value, you know, like for herself. So now you're trying to build an internal motivation. So you're trying to just try and see, does she like making juices? Does she like making food? Where is her interest? Or if she likes music, then, you know, having a singing karaoke time. Yep.
Sorry, Jo.
No problem.
If her first and initial response to everything is, no, I don't want.
Yeah.
Don't disturb me.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
so
that's very good.
I've always told the children, because Elisa will come back to me and say, Ma, she doesn't want to do piano and singing, Ma. She doesn't want. And I'll be like, no, she does. Maybe what we got to do is just keep telling her earlier, or so
but Jenna, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, how much do we take that no as a real no? Or is it just an automatic response to like, no, I just want to be on my own, kind of her antisocial, her social thing again, her anxiety thing again? Is it just it, or is it just that she really just doesn't have no interest? Of course, to say that she has no interest also is a bit like what, like you know, definitely not, right?
Yeah, definitely there will be multiple schools of thought on this. So there will be a certain group of people and even professionals who believe in just follow that child, whatever the child wants, just follow that lead. So that's a certain school of thought. Then there's also a more structured school of thought, which is no, you know, like almost like Western parenting and Asian parenting, or Western schooling and Asian schooling. So the Asian schooling is like, nope, you're going to go to school. I don't care. You're going to do this and you're going to. So I think we don't want either extreme. We want a middle ground. And I would come back to visual. So just coming back to that example you gave, was that a visual thing or no, right? It was like a suggested. Is it as in Elisa going and asking Abriana to do piano? Is it part of the schedule? It's not really, right?
No, no. So she would knock on her door and go, Abriana, playtime with Elisa? She'd be like, no.
So that's where, I think that's where it becomes harder to follow through, because it's sort of like an option. You know, it's like if all of us go to work, it's not an option, right? It's actually, we have contracts that say you have to work from this time to this time. So, you know, if you don't do that, you basically don't get reinforced, which is you don't get salary, right? So actually it's quite clear expectations. I would say that the expectations don't sound clear to me when it comes to Abriana, like it sounds optional. So then if she's going to say, no, I'm not going to do it. And then you're like, no, you have to do it. So then it's, you didn't even You didn't even tell her, hey, it's piano time. You said, do you want to play piano? So she goes, no, I don't want to play piano. So, you know, it's more like, hey, this is your new routine. And I would say with Abriana, I think making the routine with her would help. So like actually doing the schedule together with her. We do that quite often with our sort of like older children, because you want to give them a sense of independence, which is probably the next point I really wanted to emphasize as well. She must feel, with that whole part of being successful and having dignity, is a sense of independence as well. So with independence, there's a certain aspect where she would want to make choices and she would want to have autonomy. So you want to make sure that she has that, and you want to give her that where appropriate. So even trying to make some choices of what she wants to eat, it's brilliant that you put the food there and she chooses what she wants to eat. I think that's really good strategies of getting her to make a choice. But then if, let's say, you want to make a weekly schedule or a daily schedule, actually showing her, hey, we're going to have to do some piano today. We're going to have to do some this time. Which time do you want to do it? There's this time or this time. So there's some choice that she has in it. Or even playgrounds, maybe there's multiple playgrounds you could choose to go, or just one. You know, whatever it is, there's a sense of like she has a voice and a part to play as well. And so then coming back to those activities as well, we talked about music a bit, chores. So I would say, like, if it was a simple way would be, could we do like Mondays is music day, Tuesdays is like, you know, something else, Wednesdays is something else, art or baking. So then it's an activity in the afternoon that the kids could do together. And also for yourself as well, Tiona, because you have 4 kids, it sort of like simplifies it for you as well. So every Monday you do baking, and it could be a solution that would work for your whole family, because, you know, instead of buying store-bought cookies, you are making cookies for the week, and everybody's eating this healthier cookie, you know, something like that. Or like then we're doing a painting day, or we're doing a washing the clothes day, so everyone gets involved and they're all doing laundry day together. Could that be something that is scheduled in and simplified? So even the thing of marketing, for example, could that be a more regular cycle so that there's some predictability, but it doesn't mean it's rigid. In no way is it rigid, because as you're showing Abriana the schedule, you also introduce a visual called change. And we're actually going to talk about that in one of our series towards the end of the year. We're going to release a flexibility series, and we're going to actually bring up this point of change. So as you have your schedule, you're definitely going to show her like, look, there can be a change. And we start again, break it down, easy changes, medium changes, then hard changes, because change is part of life, as the whole world has found out in 2020, right? So all of us are coping with this. Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. So with Abriana and her anxiety, so like if it's a doing a baking of cookies for the week, right?
Yeah.
It's a brilliant idea, and I would actually like to do that. But with her anxiety and with her siblings, would it be easier to start just me and her, and then slowly add in a sibling, one by one?
I think that, I mean, if anybody's watching that, you should give that. If there's a clap icon on this, Tiona, I should give you a cheer right now. See, I'm trying to socially reinforce you. Great job. You're thinking exactly on the right page. Yeah. So because you've accurately identified that part of her stress is when all the kids come back and the noise they make. Yeah. And the kind of social pressure. Yeah, brilliant. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So let's say if I start, or let's say I pick up her dad because she loves her father. Ever since the dad and her have had like this time, it's really built a father-daughter relationship. So let's say the key thing it starts with father and her first.
Yeah.
And then I add in the other favorite sibling, which is Alyssa. Yeah. And then go to the next. So start off with the favorite person first.
Fantastic.
Really
okay.
Yeah, breaking it down.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah, I think it sounds like, I mean, I think if we just summarize it, I think this will definitely impact even the whole self-stimulatory aspect, because the whole part of covering her ears, if you ask me, like, of course, we always ask you to check physiological reasons, medical reasons. So I know that we probably don't have enough time to go through the whole puberty topic, but that's also another aspect where, is there enough communication? So it does come back to that. On the calendar, because most period cycles are every 28 days. Yeah. Can there be a teaching her of that this blood and pain comes, about every 28 days, and you can show her then when her period comes, then you can count down with her. See, 28 days, The next
Okay.
one will likely come on this date. So then, you know, a few days before, you can even put icons. This is the beauty of visuals, because what is like, I think sometimes without visuals, talking to a child on the spectrum, especially if you don't know how advanced their language is a little bit like talking in a foreign language.
Yeah,
so
correct.
Imagine if, you know, I talk to you in Mandarin, like maybe you know a few words and you're kind of trying to understand, but then the rest of it actually you don't really pick up.
It's a blur.
But yeah, it's a blur. But the minute somebody uses the visuals, you're like, oh, okay. And then you pair
Right.
what you hear with the visual and you really start to get it. So I would definitely say definitely that if you bring in, I feel like with the puberty, I feel with the, you know, everything that we talk about can all come back to these parts. Having a structure, making sure that you're very clear communication wise. So even with puberty related, we can talk about making a social story about it, putting it on the calendar. So when the pain starts, you know, actually giving her some relaxation strategies, like she could lie down, or she could maybe request for a Panadol or something that would help her feel better, put a hot water bag. So there is comfort that she's trying to communicate and she's trying to request for. But also you're teaching her in advance that this is coming, because that's why, again, going back to her experience, imagine what it would be like to be her. She doesn't really understand what's happening. And then on top of that, she gets, you know, this pain in your tummy, and then like this, you know, it's kind of confusing, kind of scary. But I'm sure you have done a great job talking through with her. Sometimes just the power of a visual just simplifies it so much.
Yeah, actually, you guys you guys actually did walk her through that stage. Yeah, so she was set up pretty well. It's just that
great.
With 2 years on, the consistency and the lapse in the it's just,
it's always you know, like, just for everybody watching, like we had Tuana's 2 children on our EAP program on a scholarship under the Hope Project for a few years, and then when we faded back, always the fading back is challenging, because having practitioners being there is always much easier than doing it on your own. And that's why actually our whole motivation to actually start the Autism at Home platform is really so that we can just share what we know in a much simplified, broken down manner. It's still not the same, of course, as a full therapy program. So whoever that's watching online, if you can get access to that, they should. But for many reasons, some countries don't have these programs. And for us, even in KL, it's so expensive for so many. So we're really hoping through this, it can actually help empower parents to be able to do it, just like what you're describing, Joanna. So you're actually processing, you're thinking, okay, because ultimately the principles, you start to learn how to apply those principles, they will work essentially for any of these behaviors. And if you can just keep it consistent, and if you're one day inconsistent, don't beat yourself up about it, just pick it up and do it the next day. You know, you can always come back to it. So
sounds great. Great. Actually, it sounds very doable, especially when you break it down. It's actually very doable at home.
That's great, and I really hope that I think you definitely can, because you already have some experience in this, and then always go back to those videos, and hopefully, like, you know, just start small. I'll pass it back to you, Steph. I'm sorry.
You said something about the desire of the child, of what she likes, and she really enjoyed her grandma's. She really enjoyed her grandma's house, and that actually really did help with the whole. So I think that's a good reinforcer that I could.
And so something like that, you just want to try to, even though it's a reinforcer, you want to just try that you don't take it away. You want to make sure that it's something that you give her regularly, because that's like input time, you know, it's like you want to make it part of her schedule, because it's something that she's going to really enjoy. Oops. Okay.
Sorry.
I see actually there's a few things up on the chat that's come up.
We actually got a few questions in, Joe. We are nearing a couple of minutes for the end of the webinar, but just want to know whether you want to maybe try to quickly answer a few of those questions that's come in. There's one question on diet. I thought we could go on that first, because I know, Tiona, one of your questions was also on diet. This one is about how Mr. Utek has asked, I have a friend who's recommended gluten-free diet and certain milk formulas. They say it helps her child. What's your view and experience on these recommendations?
Thanks a lot, Stephanie, for making me answer that on YouTube Live. Mr. Yu, like, yeah, I think if what we know from what our parent company in Wisconsin and some of the articles that we've read, there doesn't seem to be substantial evidence for the diet impacting a child's like overall learning, like how applied behavioral therapy does. However, I think in the cases of digestive problems, or like, just having a really uncomfortable gut and tummy, then definitely that has an impact on just improving a child's overall mood. So I would liken it to having a healthy, nutritious diet is very important. And in fact, that's something that we would really encourage, like anyone who has food tolerance problems, any child that is struggling to eat, for parents' first priority to be on nutrition. So how do we get as much nutrition into their child in the least intrusive way, but in a way that they're willing to do that? And so coming back to like diet, it would be in an analogy I would use, it's the same like wearing like glasses. If you need to wear glasses so that you can learn better, definitely you need to wear those glasses. So if with a diet like this, if it will help your child's digestive situation or constipation, then go for that. But nutrition would be ultimately most important. And sometimes the diet can be difficult to sustain and manage. But in our experience, we haven't seen it to be effective in the way that it's hoped to be. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jo, for answering that question. Do you want to take just one more and
sure.
wrap up for today?
Yeah.
So there are a few more, but for time, maybe we'll look at this question, which was by Miss Susanna Lowe. Could there be a partial autism, partial Down syndrome? Is there such a thing as being too old to treat or train?
Thanks, Susanna, for that. We definitely have worked with a few individuals in the past that have like what we call like dual diagnosis, have Down syndrome and have autism. And it definitely has its challenges of its own, similar to cerebral palsy and autism as well. I think with the age, it is never too late to do something. Even as we're talking to Tuana, her daughter is 14 years old, it's never too late. We've started working with some individuals, even at 20 years old. I think it's just what we expect from the treatment or from the teaching or from the therapy. So when we talk about ABA programs where the research shows they catch up, their IQ becomes like normal, we're talking about 2 to 3 year old kids, 4-year-olds that are starting in intensive programs at a very, very young age. So the gap is very minimal. At most, it might be 1 to 2 year delay or maximum 2.5 years gap. So then to close that in the next few years is very possible. But the older and older a child gets, the gap from their age to what they're actually demonstrating is actually very, very wide. And that really comes to a point beyond 7, 8 years old. It just becomes very difficult to close. But what we can do as a team is always narrow the gap. And what is most important at any age a child starts, but especially when the kids are older, so they're not really able to maybe go to school anymore or finding that difficult, is really that key point of having a very meaningful life, having a very successful life. And I think if we adjust our expectations to what does that look like, it can actually be a very special, meaningful life for them, making sure that they have a good schedule, a weekly and daily routine, that they're independent, that they have a very strong way to communicate, and also very importantly, activities that really occupy themselves meaningfully. So whether that's hobbies, whether that's chores, social outings, all the things that would be so wonderful, like a shopping trip, bowling, sports, just something that would really, really like make life meaningful. I think if we put ourselves in that child's shoes, which is what we and our team try to do. Another thing that I just noticed as well on the chat is a recommendation from Yuchen, which is a great idea, actually. Thanks for that. Yuchen's one of our team at EAP, and she suggested for you, Tuana, that a menstrual cycle app may help. So that's another thing, using visuals, which we didn't really get to talk about, is using technology-based visuals. I think that would be very, very useful. And if she had like a kind of tablet or device, then that would even help her also communicate, and also, utilizing that. That's a great idea, Yuchen.
Thanks, Yuchen.
Really brilliant. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yuchen.
Awesome.
Okay, right. So that brings us to the end of our webinar for today. Thank you, Joe, so much for your time today and answering
Yes.
all these questions. Thank you,
Thank you.
Tiona, for
Thank
for
you,
joining us
Steph.
today, sharing about
you,
your
Joe.
experience with us. We sincerely hope that it's been helpful not only to you, but any families who might be tuning in today. And thank you again, everyone, for tuning in as well. Do be sure to visit our autismathome.co website if you haven't already, to kind of learn more about what we do. And we're just trying to break, all these things that Joe was talking about into simple strategies that families could use at home. We will also actually be releasing the final unit of our Starter Kit series on the 11th of September, which is an introduction to promoting speech and language. So any parents who are interested in how to encourage more speech in your young children, do stay tuned for that. And finally, do hit that subscribe button on our YouTube and also follow EAP Malaysia on Instagram and Facebook as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and have a good week ahead. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Joanna. See ya.
Thanks. See you.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.